Hi, everyone. It is about 8 o'clock at night on the 30th of March, and I thought I should finally sit down and try to do this Q&A. If you remember in a vlog or two back, maybe it was the last one? No, maybe a couple back, I mentioned that I would do a Q&A so people could send in questions, and I've been collecting them. Thank you to everyone who sent them in. I've gotten quite a few. And trying to decide which ones to do, I sort of looked at if a lot of people asked the same question. I thought obviously that was interesting to more than just one person, so I would try to answer those. If someone asked something that was sort of unique, I thought, okay, I'll try to answer that. So anyway, I've collected them, the ones I'm going to be doing, and we're going to give it a go. I don't know how far I'll get. I don't know if I'll be able to finish them all in this one setting. Probably not, but I'm going to give it a go. It's a bit of a chilly night again. Winter feels like its fingers are reaching back out, even though it was 70 degrees yesterday and I spent it out in my garden. I still spent today out there too, but it was colder and now I have chill, so I have some hot tea here. And I'm cozy now, so let's dig in, all right? There we go. So I tried to just include the first name of the person asking the question, maybe the first name and the last. I don't have all of them. There's a few that I forgot to do that on, but most of them I have. So the first one that I'm going to answer is from Shirley. And the question is, what were your parents, sister, and brother's reactions when you told them you wanted to be a professional singer-performer? I don't think I actually told anyone. How does it start? I think they all knew I liked to sing from the time I was a kid. I was very shy about it though, so I certainly wasn't singing in front of anyone. And then I got into choir, of course, in junior high and high school, and they saw from there, and probably it was when I started doing solos, they realized I could actually sing. Although my mom would catch me every now and then. Whenever people weren't home, I thought I was alone. I would be singing at the top of my lungs, and a few times I would look up and I saw my mother peeking up over our window from the outside, looking in, watching me sing. And I would be absolutely mortified. Yeah, I didn't tell anyone. It just evolved. I had a friend in high school named Paul. His actual name is Paul Lagergren, but he took his stage name as Paul Todd because Lagergren is not that easy to say. And we started just singing together, working on songs. He was an amazing piano player and singer. I mean, he developed his voice too, but we would sing all the time. And then we did our first concert in Brainerd, Minnesota. We did a concert, and then it kind of went from there. I don't think my parents probably took it that seriously. Maybe thought it was just a phase that I was going to go through and it was going to wear off, and then I was going to get a real job, go to school. I was actually going to go to art school because I'm, a fairly good graphic artist, and that's what I thought I was going to be doing. I think that's what they totally were expecting me to be doing. But the singing just kept going. We kept getting work. We started to actually make money at it, and I think that was, that was the moment they realized, okay, this is turning into something that she wants to do. I'm sure they were terrified for me, not knowing anything about the music business. It was a total right turn from everything that I had talked about doing my whole life. As far as my sister, I don't think she thought anything of it, really. I was just the little sister to her, the best. So yeah, I don't remember her having any kind of reaction to it. My brother, he actually liked to sing when he was young. He had a soprano voice and we would sing all the time together. So he maybe been a little bit more interested in it. Not really sure. I guess you'd have to ask them. I've never actually asked them that question, but yeah, that's how it happened. So this is a natural follow up to the one I just answered because it's all about, it's from Roberta, by the way, and it is, if you didn't make it in singing, what do you think you would have been doing in life now? Did you have something as a backup plan if singing didn't work out? Well, like I said, I was going to be an artist. But yeah, no, I don't think once the singing got going, I don't even think I gave it a second thought. It just was all consuming. It was go, go, go. It never seemed to stop. So, no, I didn't really have a backup plan. But now, as years have gone on, and I've realized there are many things that I would have enjoyed doing. I think I would have, and I think I could have done. I think, you know, I'm probably the kind of person that could have done several different things in life and enjoyed it and been fairly good at it. Um, Nothing that had anything to do with math. That wouldn't have been. But of course, I love animals. I love working with them. I'm I'm actually interested in the medical side of it, even which is weird, but um, yeah, like being a veterinary assistant or something like that. Uh, I'm very good at cutting hair. I could have done that. I sort of enjoy that. I don't know. There's a long list of things that I would have enjoyed doing in life. So I like writing, creative writing, definitely like that. So, but we'll never know because, well, the singing sort of worked out, so there was never any need. So this is just a silly little question because, but someone wrote it, so I just thought I should put your mind at ease. Someone said, "I thought you had two big dogs. What happened to the other one?" Apparently, you just seem to not see the other dog in the vlog. I'm not sure, but no, I have two big dogs. I still have Shadow, and we still have Rocky. So yes, we still have the two. Oh, and by the way, that question about the dogs that came from Carrie I. Okay, here's a good one, I think. If you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? And do you think they would truly listen to you? Time. It's always time. And no, I don't think they would listen. Although I always have been aware of the passing of time, I don't I don't think as a younger person you just have the ability to grasp how quickly time goes and that it goes quicker and quicker and quicker, um, which seems to be the opposite of what should be. It should seems to me that as you get older and life should get slower, time should slow down for you, but it goes the opposite. And I know that many of you out there know what I'm talking about. You can have days where it feels like you've just, you know, pulled the covers up to make the bed in the morning, and the next thing you know, you turn around and you're pulling the covers down to get back in the bed, and you're like, where did the day go? It went so fast. So time, making use of time, trying to stay in the moment as much as possible and be aware of everything, be aware of the passing of time. It's very difficult to do that. There's only one thing I've ever found that really slows down time, and that is doing something you've never done before, which as we get older and we've lived more life, that happens less and less. You have to really push and go outside of your norms in order to do something that you've never done before. And not everyone is, lucky enough to do that or wants to do that. So, yeah, that's a biggie. And the other piece of advice I would want to give, um, as a woman, society is very cruel to women. It's all based in, beauty, um, and because of that, we are so hard on ourselves. So I guess it would be to try not to be so hard on yourself. And as my friend Molly said, and which is so true, it's what we are in, our body that we're in at that moment is never good enough. And what you have to realize is that as you're aging, you're going to wish you had the body that you had now. that you have now. So just don't be so hard on yourself. Be grateful for who you are, what you have, and just try to enjoy that. Oh, I keep forgetting to say the name. That question about the younger self, that was from Roberta. All right, here is the next one. What is your favorite venue you've ever performed in and why? Well, that's an easy one for me. It's always going to be Carnegie Hall because, as I always say, Carnegie Hall was the only place I ever knew of as a young person growing up in Minnesota, just not being part of that world at all, not knowing really what's out there. But Carnegie Hall, that I knew, and it was always my dream to perform at Carnegie Hall one day. And I feel really fortunate that I was able to do, 4 of my own solo concerts there. I can't believe it really in a way, and it is a special room. There's no doubt about that. It's filled with amazing, wonderful ghosts, not to mention the ghost of Judy Garland, which of course, she means so much to me. So for that reason also I like that place. And my very first time performing in there, not my own solo thing, was, in fact, my very first time ever being in the building. I'd never seen a show. I'd never done anything. I was asked to be part of the Broadway Leading Ladies, which, we all know. It's one of my most watched videos now is the performances of Man of La Mancha and Someone Like You that I did that night. That was pretty special. So, yeah, very, very, very easy to answer that question. Carnegie Hall. All right, here's a good one from Noah. This is the question. Are there any songs you've performed that you simply don't like to do anymore? Ones that I get tired of, and if there are any that you've had to cut from the set list because of that. Well, that is always my biggest challenge. And, I've been doing this for a long time now, so I have my hits, I have my songs that I'm known for. And, I'm going to be honest and say I never do them at soundcheck because, I can't bear to sing them at soundcheck because there's no stage magic. And then it is just doing a song I've done 6 million times before. But for some reason, they're my hits for a reason. They're great songs, and this camera froze halfway through that answer, so I'm splicing this together and I can't quite remember what I said, but something to the effect of, when it's a great song, even though I can't do it at soundcheck, and when I have a new musician and I have to go through certain songs, I'm like, oh, come on. But once I get in front of the audience and get into the song, thankfully, it does come back to life for me because it is so great and brings back memories. But yeah, there's no question I get tired of certain songs. For me, my favorite song to sing is always the newest one that I've learned, for obvious reasons. It's new for me, it's fun. So yeah, I definitely get tired of singing certain songs. I hope it doesn't show. All right, I thought this one was interesting. That someone would ask me this, and it's from someone I know who takes lessons from me, named Selenia. She wanted to know just what I think of, I guess you call them the vocal trinity, which is Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and Celine Dion. I don't think it's really a trinity without, for me, I would always include Barbra Streisand in that list. So I'm going to add, I think I'll talk about Barbara later, but I'll talk about these three. I see people discussing, these three singers and comparing them all the time. It's like always a competition, and you read the comments and people are always fighting over who is the best and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's all art, so it's subjective. There is no right or wrong. Okay, so as far as, I'll start with Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey is the one I know the least about. First of all, incredible. The first time I ever heard her voice, we were in Houston. I think it was I don't think it was Jekyll and Hyde. I think it was Svengali, which was the show we did at the alley after Jekyll and Hyde in 91. We did Jekyll and Hyde in 90 and then Svengali in 91. So it was either 90 or 91 when her first album came out. And I remember listening to it and I got so, I got really depressed. I was like, oh my God, this girl is so amazing. I might as well just hang up my my uniform right now. I thought, vocally, just an incredible instrument, there's no denying it. I mean, literally a 5-octave range, which is crazy. And all the riffs. Now, all that aside, I'm going to be quite honest with you and say that I'm actually not a fan. I appreciate what she does, and I certainly get the brilliance of what she's doing. But for me, I end up not feeling emotional about it. And I like singers that have something in the voice that gets me emotional in one way or another, whether it's a cry in the voice, or if it's a sexy voice of some male singer that I think has a really sexy voice, or something that has such a beautiful tone that makes it emotional to me. I'm not sure what it is. It just has to be something that touches me on an emotional level in order for me to actually become a real fan of that person and want to listen to a lot of their music. I can appreciate all her, big hits as much as anyone else, but, it's not... She wouldn't be my choice if I had to choose, if someone said, you can go to one of these person's concerts for free. It wouldn't be that one. I would choose others over her. So for Mariah fans, I don't mean to, downplay that, but it's just my own personal taste. Okay, then I guess we'll go with Whitney next. So Whitney is an example of what I was talking about. There is something in her voice there, that's naturally emotional. And I think innately more musical in an emotional way. Mariah is like an instrument. I mean, she's hearing all the lines and all that, but it's not in an emotional way. Whitney's musicality comes from emotion. So I prefer her voice. I think she pushed it too far, pushing the big voice, the yelly voice, screaming out too much. Which is partly why she, destroyed her voice, which is one of the saddest things ever. I have one of the greatest voices of all time, and then just have it be destroyed like that. It's my own personal opinion. People think was the drugs that ruined her voice. I think the drugs were a result of the fact that her voice was being ruined. Anyone... Those tours that they go on are terrible. Unless you sing in a very light voice, like a head voice style or a mixy style where you're really not belting and pushing. Whitney was belting, carrying up the full chest belt voice up as high as it could go. And when you're on a big tour like that, where you're working 2 nights on, 1 night off, 2 nights on, 1 night off, 3 nights on, 1 night off, for a year at a time, I'm sorry, that's... A human voice isn't meant to do that. Opera singers, they'll do like 3 shows a week. That's it. And they're singing in a classical style. So I believe that is what ruined her voice. They ruined her, all the big push to do these big tours. It's my personal opinion, but I'm sticking to it. But it's just sad because her voice in its peak, it's absolutely gorgeous and emotional and musical. Everything you'd want it to be. And okay, now there's Celine Dion. Of course, that's about the saddest thing of all. Because I love Celine's voice. It's changed as as she got older. Her voice has changed. Became more nasal, more forward. She's placing it there because it's harder and harder to sing those high notes like that, high belty notes, and then of course whatever physically was going on with her. But in her pristine prime, again, incredible voice. And I really like her French albums where she's singing in French and she's singing all these beautiful, more melodic things. I tend to like those more. I think her voice is beautiful when she just is singing and being musical. She's incredibly musical. She's like a combination in a way, I think, of Mariah and Whitney, in that she hears all the technical things that Mariah hears, but she has the emotional that as well that Whitney had. So, and on top of it, a lot of times when she sounds like Barbra Streisand at times, so quite an amazing voice. And again, very, very sad that, we're not able to hear her anymore. Will we ever? I don't know. But anyway, my opinion of those three ladies. This question is from Kylie, and it is there a theater role you've always wanted to play but haven't had the chance to yet? Well, there's a lot of them, but again, not really. To be quite honest, I am not a huge musical theater fan like a lot of people who go and see everything. I could be going to shows all the time, and yet I don't. And it's because I like a certain type of theater. I like big, emotional songs sung by people who are not just actors, but also singers. And you don't always get that in theater. You get that, but you also get a lot of actors who have voices, but they, in my opinion, they don't know how to sing. They're not musical. They've learned how to use their voices, but they're actors. And that doesn't do it for me. I'm not enough of a theater fan to like that. I don't like there's a lot of theater that I don't like. I'm much more in tune with more realistic kind of acting. I don't really like over the top theater acting. In fact, I thought of this the other day because I get asked these kind of questions a lot. That saying they always said, you got to, perform for the back row of a theater? Well, and the reason I was thinking of it is because there are people out there who think what I did in Jekyll and whatever else they saw me do on stage, that I'm like an amazing actress. And then there's others who think I can't act my way out of a paper bag. Well, I think it depends on what kind of acting that you like. I am very naturalistic. And because of theater and the way it is, and that whole thing about acting for the back row, there are people who aren't going to like what I do. But my whole thing is, if you're acting for the back row, doesn't that mean you're really overacting for the whole front row and a whole lot of the audience? Yeah, in my opinion, yes, you are. So I like that over the top kind of stuff, and the over enunciation and all that kind of stuff when people sing. I'm not into that. But give me a great singer singing an emotional song like Colm Wilkinson in Les Miserables, that. I love that. Yeah. That, to each his own, again. I don't want to offend anybody that likes a certain kind of theater, but that's just my opinion. And for instance, that's why I'm going to be real honest here. The movie Wicked, I absolutely love Cynthia and Ariana and all, the performers. The performers are great, but I wanted it to be like Lord of the Rings, like a movie. I wanted it to look like Lord of the Rings. I wanted it to be like a real acted movie with that kind of look and feel, instead of this very bright Broadway show. I liked Wicked when I went to see it in the theater, but I wasn't expecting that in the movie. I wanted it to be something else. And I enjoyed it, yeah, but I didn't love it for that very reason. Just love the performances, but I would have directed it a different way. That's all I'm saying. Of course, I'm so opinionated and such a harsh critic of everything that I would pretty much change everything. Something about everything. So this is a paragraph, but I think it's cute. So I'm going to read the whole thing to you. And this is from Hillary H. Okay, so it's would you ever consider coming over to the UK and not just to London because they get everything and it's not central? I think I already know your answer and I actually would understand if you said no, but it would be lovely. I'd love to take you around Liverpool. You'd love it. It's my nearest city and has so much history and of course has the addition of the Beatles stories. And I think you can now fly from New York direct to Liverpool. John Lennon Airport. Where do you keep your third and fourth lungs? How did you learn to control notes for so long? The arrangement of On the Street Where You Live is very unusual. How did it come about? I've heard you sing it as a duet with David Fink. How come since you let your hair... David Fink. How come since you've let your hair go gray, you look younger? Okay, there's a lot to answer here, and I know I said only one or two questions from everybody, but Hillary, that was very cute, so I'm going to address all of this for you. I love England. I feel like I am reincarnated from England. I can just sit and I want to sit and watch people in England just sitting in their English countryside kitchens, drinking tea and talking, and I could watch that all day long. And I want to be there. And as a horse person, England is so set up for horses. It's just incredible. With all your bridleways that have been around forever. And I don't know. I just really feel like if I could have another life, I would want to do it again. And I'd be in England, definitely. And as you know, and I know you know the reason I don't come now is because of... It's harder and harder for me to get on airplanes, and when I do go to Europe, I feel guilty if it's not to go back to visit my relatives, and I don't do that enough, so it's just very hard, although I think more and more about it. It's crazy that I don't go, because I know I have a lot of fans in England, just because of Jekyll and Hyde, and having been there, and Leslie Bricusse and her whole association with that, and my first label being on, BMG and being signed actually to a label there first. So I'm sorry. Maybe I'll surprise you one day and actually make this happen. I know that I should. I do beat myself up all the time because I'm not doing it. Yes, I would love to have you show me all around Liverpool. Where do you keep your third and fourth lungs? And how did you learn to control notes for so long? I think, well, I'm naturally built with a very wide rib cage, which is why I don't have a good waist. Never have. The best waist I ever had was when I was doing Camille Claudel and wearing corsets all the time because they really start to move your organs around. But I have a very large rib cage, so I think that helps. I don't know if it would have always been that way. That's the way I'm naturally made, or it's the fact that I like to run long distance from the time I was 8 years old. I don't know why. So yes, it's from running and obviously naturally being built the way that I am. That has a lot to do with it. As far as holding notes, it's also how much air you're using. There are ways, you have to be able to control how much air you're letting out. Singing is really all about that. It's all about being able to take a big breath, but then able to control that air. And so, that's a big part of it. The arrangement of On the Street Where You Live is an example of that. But of course, I'm singing these little tiny little notes, and I'm making the smallest little opening, making a tone that hopefully sounds nice, and it's not using up a lot of air. So as far as my arrangements and how I come up with them, that's the part that there's a little bit of magic there, because it just seems to happen all at once. For some reason, I feel like an arrangement, I might tweak it or change it a little here or take a suggestion from somebody if they, working on a project or something. But when it comes to singing a song, I seem to know always automatically right off the bat how I want to do it. And I don't know why. I've never really analyzed that. I'm glad of it. I don't know why my phrasing I don't have to think about it necessarily. It just comes automatically to me. I've thought about it more giving voice lessons, but I don't really know. They just come kind of fully formed in a way. Okay, and then this last one. How come since you let your hair go gray, you look younger? Well, I don't know that everyone would agree with you there. I'm grateful that at 64, maybe I don't look 64. Even though every morning now when I get out of bed, I feel like I'm 84. I'm grateful for the genes, from my parents. I think they both looked pretty good for quite a long time. My mom, she looked fairly young for quite a long time. It has a lot to do with your genes. Maybe everything to do with that. And then, of course, all things being equal, if you're living a healthy, life, that has a lot to do with it. Stress has, I think, a lot to do with it. I certainly don't drink enough water or get enough sleep, so I don't know. But thank you. Thank you very much for thinking that. All right, this is an interesting one for me to answer because it applies and it doesn't apply in a way. The question is, this is from Mary, and you, Mary, with the last name starting with you, or Marie? Marie. What's the reality of life as a famous singer, the pros and cons, and how did reality differ from your expectations when you finally became famous? Am I famous? I don't know. I don't think so. To me, fame is, the kind of big fame, when you walk out and you can't go anywhere and you're mobbed and people are snapping your photo all the time and your life is just upended and nothing is ever normal again after that. I don't have that by any means. I'm a minor celebrity, and I'm really grateful for that. I've told this story before, but it's worth telling again. When I left Jekyll and Hyde, my very last show, I remember that day so vividly, and I've made I even made a vlog where you can see, that last day. The entire 45th Street was jammed with fans. And they obviously hadn't all gotten in to see the show, only could hold so many, but the street was packed. And I had to get into a car to get to an airport because we were going straight down to Houston because we knew there was no way I could be at a stage door and saying hello to all these people like I normally would after a regular show. And so in order to get me to the car, I had people around me. I had Frank and all these other people as a bubble to protect me, to push us through, this mob of people trying to get to me. And I realized in that moment, this is what people who are really big famous, big famous people, this is what they live with and deal with all their lives from that point on. And I knew in that moment that was not something that I would ever be able to handle or live with. And I don't know if, I can blame it on not wanting to fly. I know it has a lot to do with that, but I think subconsciously, in a way, I have sort of controlled my career. I've not done certain things that record companies would have wanted me to do, constantly out there press, doing this, doing that, going anywhere and everywhere they tell you to go to help build the career. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to ride my horse. I wanted to be with my kid. I wanted to live my life. I wanted to do all those things, but I also think I did not want to be that famous. Now, could I have been? Maybe. I don't know. Do I have that kind of talent? I don't know. But I know that I could not have been famous in that way. I have the best of all worlds. I have a wonderful, loyal fan base that has supported me and given me a life, made me feel proud of what I'm doing because of the feedback that you give me, but you give me space for the most part. Yeah, I've had a few crazy people over the years who have messed up the apple cart and frightened me at times, but most of the time, no. So, my life is not any different really than anyone else's, except for the fact that I might go somewhere looking my worst, go to a store, and then hand my card to the cashier, and then they read the name and then say, "Oh, you're Lindetter," but it's mostly because I'm looking horrible that day or whatever. Or I know that I'm recognized, and I know because sometimes people will say it, and other times I just know that by the way they're looking at me that they've recognized me. But in general, I just, for the most part, live a very normal life. And especially now, I'm just a middle-aged, gray-haired lady, who can walk the line back and forth, normal into the show business world, back into the normal world, into the show business world as much as I want, and then back into the normal world, and that's perfect. So I hope that answered your question. And Marie, you had a second question, and of course I'd have to sit and think really long and hard and have to have prepared, for this particular question to really, give you a full answer. And I didn't do that. So I'm gonna give you one that kind of goes along with your other question, because this one is, what are some of the funniest fan stories that you've gathered? Well, I've had a few, over the years, but just one in particular that has to do with fame. And again, this was many years ago, and I was in Houston. I think we were doing, I can't remember which one we were doing. Yeah, it was probably Svengali, I think. I'm not sure. I just know I was really, really tired. Because when you're doing a show, you're rehearsing all day long. And then especially as you're doing, previews, you're rehearsing all day long and doing previews at night. I mean, it's tiring, it's draining. And I remember going to a store, and I was just wearing some rag and no makeup. I looked so tired and terrible, and I was walking up and down the aisles looking for something, and every time I would look up, I would see this little man, a little Asian man, young and little, because I'm 5'10.5", and he was several inches shorter than I am. And every time I would look up, he would be at the end of the aisle, so I would move into the next aisle and keep looking, and then I would look up, and there he'd be again. And I just kept thinking, oh no, he's recognized me, and I looked terrible. And back then, when I was young, I was mortified by that. Now I hardly care, but back then I felt awful, and he kept showing up, and I kept trying to avoid him, and I thought I had, and it's been going on for quite a while, and I was in an aisle, and I turned around, and there he was right in front of me, looking up at me, and I was like, oh, and he goes like this, "Are you Linda?" And I said, "No." I didn't even know that I was going to say it. I just lied. I said, "No." That's the story. All right, this one is from Mike S. And it is, I was just wondering if you, I happened to stumble upon a video by the vocalist, and she did a vocal analysis and review on your performance of Man of La Mancha. I was just wondering if you saw it. How does it make you feel to have such high praises? Well, of course, it's amazing. There's a whole group of people out there who have YouTube channels that they do this. It's something that obviously is popular. People like to see these reactions. I do too. I watch quite a few of these. Not of my own, obviously. Several of my songs have been done by different people who do this, but I like to watch, obviously other people doing. Of course, I'm so flattered, and she was incredibly kind and complimentary. Some of them are better than others. I mean, she knows her stuff. She knows what she's talking about. It's like anything, there are people who have these channels who do this, who know singing, who know music, and they kind of know what they're talking about. And then there's others who are just trying to make a channel of it, and they really have nothing to say, and their reactions are not really worth making a vlog of. But no, she was very good, and I'm always flattered. As I said, I've seen a few of these over the years, and I always usually try to comment on them and say, thank you, very nice of you. All right, this one is from Amy, and her two questions are, well, the first one is, you're in such good shape. No, I'm not. Do you do anything specific for exercise? I'm not in good shape. I don't think I'm in good shape at all right now. I feel really weak and stiff and sore when I get up in the morning. I have to get back out walking, but I had a couple things happen, and then that set me back, where I joined a gym and I was going, pretty regularly, but then I broke my foot, which meant I couldn't do any of the bike and the different things that I was doing, even the weights that I was doing for my legs. And then I have a bad rotator cuff, and a person that was helping me, not going to name names, do the weight, and I hadn't told them about my rotator cuff, and I should have known better, and then I wrecked it, and it's been really not right, even worse than normal since then. So I'm not able to do the gym like I was, which is frustrating, because I think it's really important as you get older. It's not about the cardio stuff, it's about lifting weights. You really need to keep that up. So, but I in general get probably more exercise than the average person does, just because of having horses and having a farm. I mean, anyone who has a house knows that, there's always work involved with a house, because they're just always constantly in a state of falling apart. Things are made to get old and fall apart and be fixed. And every spring, right now, for instance, it's, everywhere you look, there's something to do. I've been out in my garden building new raised flower beds, not flower beds, but planter beds for my garden, and my back is screaming because of it, because I'm making them out of paver blocks. So I get a lot of exercise. I feel much better when I'm outside and when I'm doing, that kind of work. I just feel alive. My day goes slower because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So yeah, I do. I get a lot of exercise, but I am particularly not in great shape right now, and I need to get back to it. I need to get back to the skinny on the fat, which I think a lot of you liked and got help from that. It certainly helped me. I got to get back to walking, because I just have not done it now for quite a long time, ever since my foot took a long time to get better. Fortunately, knock on wood, it's now seems to be completely fine. The fact that I don't even know why I broke it is still a mystery to me, but anyway, it's not hurting now. So, but anyway, thank you for thinking I'm in good shape. All right, so your other question, along with being in shape, is what made you get into making bread? It says your unique hobby. Well, because it's all over the, YouTube. I don't know if I must have clicked on something, like they say you hover over something for a few seconds and suddenly you're going to get tons and tons of the same thing. But I don't know. Everybody seemed to be making sourdough bread during lockdown. So I just decided I would, and I'm really glad. I'm glad that I learned it and I've stuck with it, because it's really pretty much the only bread that I eat is what I make myself. And it's much healthier, better, frankly. So yeah, that was why. Just watching it, it looks so darn good. I just thought I'd give it a try. All right, these are from Marie, and the last name starts with a U. How old were you when you realized you could sing, that you liked to sing, and that you wanted to make it your career? Who first noticed that you could sing, and who in your family encouraged you the most? It's a lot of questions, but it's all about the same thing. So, I think I just was always singing. I was always using my voice like a toy, like I would say, because I think when you're able physically to do something, you tend to do it. And I think innately I'm a musician. I should have stuck with some instrument besides singing as well, because I know that I am a musician. I know that. It's just that I didn't stick with the piano long enough. I wasn't disciplined to get better at the guitar. I'm a very basic guitar player. So my voice became my instrument. But I knew it could do things. I could mimic sounds, and because of liking melody and music, and that was a way to be the instrument and to create that music. But I was very shy about it. I did, but I always loved it. I didn't think as I mentioned earlier, never thought it would be my career. As far as who first noticed that I could sing, even though I remember doing this, but it's my sister who actually tells the story better than me because she's 2 years older. But the first time we went to Austria and Norway to visit our relatives, I was 6. And I think I turned 6 over there. And apparently one night we were in my Austrian grandmother's room in her bed, and my brother, who's 2 years younger than I am, would have been 4 at the time, and my sister would have been 8. And we were all in her bed at night, sometime before going to bed, and we were singing, apparently. All of us were singing. And it's funny because my sister tells the story because she was offended by the fact that all of a sudden my grandmother she asked my brother and her to stop singing, and she wanted just me to sing. So obviously she noticed that even at the age of 6, that there was something there, that I had some kind of a voice, because she noticed it. And I wouldn't remember any of that if it wouldn't be for my sister telling that story. My Austrian grandmother, who I could barely speak to. When I went back when I was 18, I had taken a little German at that point, and it was really amazing to finally be able to have a little bit of a conversation with her, a very childlike conversation, but I actually was able to talk to her. Okay, and then you shared that you were shy. What methods did you use to overcome the shyness with such a public job? Yeah, it's crazy. I think a lot of performers are shy. And I think the shyness has to do with if what you are presenting is very personal to you. And singing is very personal to me. I think right from the get-go, it was a way of showing you who I was, even though I was shy about it. And that's what made me shy about it. It felt very personal. So I think that's true with actors and singers. If they're really connected and it's coming from a real place, it makes you more shy about it because you basically are exposing yourself in a way. And as far as overcoming the shyness, I don't think I was particularly good at that in the early days for quite a long time. And to make matters worse, you're always auditioning for the whole first part of your career, well into your career. You're always trying to impress somebody because you can't work unless someone allows you to work. And that's the hard part about being an entertainer. You can't just go out and create your own thing. You have to wait for someone to open the door and say, okay, you can perform on my venue, or I will give you a record deal, or you can be in this show. You have to be accepted like that, which means you're always auditioning, and that is not a good place to be in. I hated that feeling, and that's one thing I love so much about now. I'm not auditioning anymore. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm having more fun than I've ever had, and I think in many ways I'm a better performer now than I ever have been because I don't care that there's nobody out there that I'm trying to get a job from. I'm just doing what I love. In fact, the other day I did a show at 54 Below that was a specialty show that we added because of these buyers that were in town. My agent wanted me to do a show at that time, so they would bring some buyers. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a little bit like I was auditioning, and I hated it. And I actually didn't feel like I did as good of a show that night. I sang fine, but I wasn't as free. I wasn't as relaxed, so I didn't feel like my talking was as good. I didn't feel like I was as funny as I normally would be. Yeah, I hated all that. So was I good at overcoming my shyness? No, the only thing that helped it was time and not having to audition anymore, frankly. Well, this is a kind of funny one, but I figured I'll answer it. What the hell? They are asking, what is your skincare routine, and have you ever used Botox or other cosmetic facial procedures? No, I have never used Botox. I have never done anything. I do not have a skincare routine. I use vitamin E oil to take off my makeup And that's it. I have no other products. I use no creams. I do not use sunscreen. I don't get facials. As I said, I've never tried Botox. I never would. I can't even think of injecting my face with poison and not being able to move my eyebrows. No, I don't do any of that. Should I have been? Maybe some of you might think yes, but no, I don't. Would I ever consider plastic surgery on my face? I don't know. I don't think so. And my reason is because even though I see some actresses that, yeah, maybe they look done pretty well, but in general, what starts to happen is they don't look like themselves anymore. I would rather recognize the person and see them older, but recognize them as the face I always remembered rather than see something, pulled and stretched. No, not for me. Again, just my personal taste, but no. Okay, I like this question. So, what was your experience like working on the Peter Pan album? I know you have a very high range, and this seems to be quite different from what you usually sing, more head tone. For those of you not familiar with this, you should look it up. I actually was asked to sing the part of Wendy on a Peter Pan. Now am I blanking on who wrote? What is his name again? They made a movie about him. He's passed away now. West Side Story? The heck is his name? You know who I'm talking about. Bradley Cooper just starred as him in a movie. Oh, I'll think of it after I answer this question, because trying so hard right now to think of his name, and I've got all these other names popping into my head. Anyway, we did this Peter Pan album, and it was classical style singing, which was great fun for me, because I started out trying to sing like an opera singer because I love opera. It was my first influence, really, for real singing. I tried to sound like Eileen Farrell, who was my favorite singer when I was 10. So this was a lot of fun to work on. It was challenging because I hadn't, I used that voice, but to sing an entire song that way and really stay in it, I had to work a little bit on that. But yeah, it was a great experience and really cool to have in my catalog. Okay, so the name that was not coming into my brain was Leonard Bernstein. These questions are from Tanya C., by the way. I forgot to mention that. So your second question is, what was your singing career like before you were on Star Search? I was part of the duo of Paul and Linda, and we worked pretty much nonstop. That's how I got into singing in the first place. Shadow wants to be in on this. Yeah, we got our first jobs, when we worked at the Holiday Inn in Brainerd, and then we got our next job from there, and our next job from there, and we worked pretty much nonstop. And that, that doesn't always happen. We were lucky. I mean, I did do a couple of musicals in school. Not a lot. I did in junior high, that's what we called it back then. I was in The Emperor's New Clothes. I was the Empress. I barely did or said anything as far as I recall. And then I played Mother Abbess in The Sound of Music in high school. And I also, when I was 18, I sang the soprano part in Handel's Messiah for our big concert that was done in our town that year. That was that was something else to be in that. Everyone else was so much older than I was, but my choir teacher, he was conducting it, and he cast me in that. I was very honored. Frightening, but I pulled it off. Like I said, then it was all nightclubs, after that, and working in Atlantic City, and a lot of performing, a lot of paying our dues and learning the ropes. I debated whether or not to get into this one, but several people asked it, so I figure I I can now. Question is from Joan R, and it is among several other people who basically asked the same question. Basically, how am I doing now since the death of my dad? Well, it's been now, a little over a year, so I am definitely doing much, much better. He passed away 2 Februarys ago. It was a leap year, so it was February 29th. And I was his primary caregiver. It was a pretty traumatic experience for me, but it was my role, as it turns out. That was just what was meant to be. It has affected me permanently. And for the first 6 months, I'm not going to lie, it was tough. I considered off many times getting some help, I was going to try that BetterHelp thing they do online because it was tough. But I'm much, much better now. Someone wrote something recently that I had read, which is really true, is that how you miss them doesn't change ever. That never gets any better. It's just the time between feeling like that gets longer. And that's, I think, is really true. And someone else said something on, I think it was Instagram, that I've seen a couple times, and it really hits me hard every single time. And it's about when you lose your parents, it's like it's homesick, and you realize you're homesick, but then you realize that home is not a place. Home is it's your parents. And so when you lose one of them or both of them, you're always homesick because you can't go back home because they're not there. That's very much true. But I'm getting by. I'm doing okay. It's a part of life. It's something we all deal with if we're lucky, like I am, to have had an amazing dad, and to have had him for 90 till 90 and a half. That's how old he was when he passed. I mean, I'm lucky because I talk to so many people who remind me that I'm lucky because, they didn't get that much time with their father. So thank you for asking, and thank you for worrying about me, but I'm doing okay. I can now, smile and laugh and, think about funny things and good stories and things he said that make me smile and make me laugh. So that's good. They said you get there, and they were right. You do get there. Someone asked, several people asked, do you have any goals or things that you haven't achieved yet, or things that you want to do? And obviously there's so many things that I have an interest in. Do I have the energy anymore to do a lot of them? No, but there's still so many things that I am interested in that I will do and want to do. But as far as like big goals and things, and just things in general, this has to do with my dad. The one thing I realized after he passed is that he was really the reason I did everything. It was always about trying to make my dad proud of me. And when he wasn't there anymore, it's like, well, now what am I doing? Why am I doing it? That is still to this day, that's something I think about a lot. He was really the driving force behind it all. I'm not sure why. He just was the kind of guy, you wanted to impress him. It felt important to impress him, to make him proud of you. I don't feel that way about my mom. She's just a wonderful, loving mom. She didn't put that on you. You didn't, and I'm glad I had that balance. It's not like he tried to do it. It's just he was that kind of a person that I wanted to impress. So, yeah. So I struggle now with finding quite as much motivation or drive as I always used to have without that. But that's okay. I'm 64 now, so things are allowed to slow down a little bit and change. It's just about enjoying. It's about enjoying what I have, creating what I want, but enjoying what I have. I like this question, and is actually the easiest one to answer. What do you consider your greatest achievement? I'm sure you can all guess. My son, of course. Of course I'm going to say that. Uh, Easy, hands down. Didn't have to think twice. I am very, very proud of my wonderful son and very grateful to have him. All right, here's one very apropos. What made you start a YouTube channel, and do you enjoy making vlogs? Well, I don't even know how it all came about. I think my friend Maureen Smith, who you've seen in my vlogs, I think it was her idea, because she was much more savvy about online stuff with her jobs that she's had over the years. Understanding the importance of social media and all that, which I really wasn't even thinking about. She was the one, I think, that encouraged me to do that. And she's the one initially made the videos for me. I didn't know how to, edit, use the software on your Mac. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So she was making them. And it was when I first remember that my DVD obviously came about because I had bought a camera, and I finally had a phone that had a camera. I think it was way behind the curve. I had the BlackBerry for the longest time. I love that thing though, the big classic. Anyway, I thought I should try playing around with this thing called iMovie on my computer, and I thought, well, how do I do this? So I just, as I say in that thing, I stuck my phone up onto my dashboard and started filming myself driving around, and I started collecting bits, and then I made a little video. I thought, this is kind of fun, and that's what led me to the idea of making that DVD. And then, of course, I got into making the vlogs myself. I discovered I really actually enjoy it. It's very creative, and I still just use iMovie, even though I have Final Cut Pro. I downloaded it and I never used it. If it's not point and click, I am not very good at reading directions and having to actually learn beyond. If you can't find your way around just by trial and error, I struggle reading directions. I just read the same lines over and over and over. I don't know why. So I love iMovie. I still have made all my vlogs just in iMovie. And then the channel, it grows. You get better and better at it, and then it's become something else too, though. It's become almost like a running diary, a visual diary of my life, which becomes more important to you as well because of the passing of time, and things are, forever there to look at. And I'm so grateful that I filmed all this stuff because I have all this stuff of my dad, and it'll be there for Jake one day. If he ever wants to remember mom or see what mom was really like, it's really all there for him on this crazy thing called the internet in my vlogs. So that means a lot to me as well. So yeah, that's the reason why. And yes, I really very much enjoy it. And I wish that I had known about her. It was around when I was starting out and really hitting, when I first signed those record deals and everything was taken off and Jekyll and Hyde happened. I have no doubt that I would have probably 2.5 million subscribers by now, just based on what I see other people have and all that. And, the fact that I have a lot of things that I can vlog about, I know I would have that. I'm not even saying that in a bragging kind of way. I just know that would be the case. Now, starting it as an older person, and my career is I'm not as relevant anymore, so it's taken a long time to get to past the 10,000 subscriber mark. I feel very grateful to have gotten that far, and it is ticking up now, and you just have to be very regular. And I'm not as regular as some people putting these vlogs out, but it's fun creating them and turning it into something and building it. It's definitely worthwhile. It's a good thing for my career, but it's also just something I totally enjoy. So Come on, everybody, subscribe. Don't just watch. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, I thought this question was interesting. I can't really answer it in a way, but I can certainly talk about it. This question was, you've had a few different musical directors over the years. Do you have a favorite? Well, of course, I'm not going to pick one or the other. It's like saying dated different guys or starred with different guys. Who's the better kisser? I'm not going to say that. I haven't had a lot. The ones I've worked with for a long period of time. There's a few that were short early on, but the main people that I have worked with as musical directors have been obviously Jeremy Roberts, who I worked with for 15 years, John Otto, who sadly passed away, and then Billy Stein, and now Billy Stritch. The biggest challenge is trying not to call Billy Stritch Billy Stein. I did it one time on stage already. The thing is, you learn something from all of them because they all have different music sensibilities. And even though it was always sad to make the change, sometimes it was by choice, even though it was sad. I mean, I worked with Jeremy for 15 years, and it was my choice to change. Though I miss aspects of working with him, he was, brilliant in so many ways. And I thought we created a lot of magic on stage. Just there were other things, and, anyway, we went our separate ways. John Otto, sweetest man, and again, very different from Jeremy, so I felt like, it affected my musicality. I learned different things working with him. I will always think of him when I think of Carnegie Hall because, he did the Judy Garland Carnegie Hall with me. One of the funny things about him, though, is he tapped his foot so loudly he didn't even know he did it. Through this banging, whatever, hard floor, and it's something he couldn't stop. It just was automatic. And then, of course, Billy Stein. I adore Billy. What's not to adore about Billy? And I totally loved all of the years that we were together, and I liked the fact that he was so versatile as far as doing the standards on Broadway, but then also just the pop. He's so good at the pop and using tracks and all that. That was a lot of fun. Kind of a pain in the butt for him to drag those tracks around the country. I know he didn't really enjoy that, but he did it. Just a great guy, and I was really sad when he decided, he didn't want to do it anymore. Even though I totally understood, I still to this day, I miss him. And then, of course, Billy Stritch is just, he's just a incredible performer, and he's total pro. And I've gone through a phase where I'm learning and I'm adapting and growing in musical ways because of his sensibilities. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot in the last 3 years that I've been working with him. And I love the fact that we can do duets because I've always done those in the past when I first started out, and the other guys didn't really sing, so that wasn't going to be, part of what we did. Billy would sing some backup, but no, we weren't going to be doing duets or anything like that. So it's really fun to be able to sing duets with Billy Stritch. So yeah, you learn something from all of them. Will I be making a change again? Will I be forced to make a change again in the future? I don't know. Who knows? But for right now, I'm pretty happy. Will you be making more albums? The answer is yes, I will. When? I don't know. I'm there's no question that I'm becoming a little bit more lazy when it comes to work. I totally admit that. But that's the challenge for me. There's part of me that gets all these ideas and wants to do all this stuff, but then the other part of me wants to get up and go out and build something or go ride my horse. So I'm constantly at war with what I want to do that on any given day, and there's only so much time in life, and the days go by so fast. So that's the challenge. And again, it goes back to probably my very first answer that we started out with: time. It's always about time. There's never enough of it. People have asked me, what's the one thing you always would want more of? And it's always so easy to say, time, just give me time. I have so many interests and things and hobbies and projects that I want to do. I could use 100 lifetimes to do all the things that I'm interested in. And I'm sort of a jack of all trades in the sense that I'm pretty good at a lot of things. Like I used to say this about myself, that I'm like B+ at a lot of things, but maybe not A+ at anything. Well, maybe I've gotten into the A range with singing, I hope. But I'm pretty good at doing a lot of things, and I'm interested in a lot of things. So that's the challenge, is to find the time to get it all done. Never going to get it all done. Can only do so much, but I promise I will get around to making some more albums. And this will be my final question. So I want to thank everyone for having sent them in, and also for being very good about your questions and not forcing me to answer anything that might be too personal or embarrassing. So I hope this was interesting to you. If let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do another one down the road. But this was my first actual Q&A where I sat down and answered your questions. So I hope I did an okay job. And I think I'm going to end it here because it's going to get to be a long vlog. So I know there are many, many more questions that came in, but I hope I picked some that you found interesting. And I'll see you around for the next vlog. Just throwing this one in here. I've actually filmed everything, but I forgot to talk about Barbra Streisand, as I had mentioned in that one that I was going to. All I'm going to say is, ain't nobody better than Barbra Streisand. Period.